Here we are, my first cookery demo. And this is dedicated to Julie and Leonie, because this morning she was telling me that she got plain flour but no self-raising flour at all in the shops. And I said, all you need to do if you've got plain flour is use baking powder, and that turns it into self-raising flour. And my tip was to, for about every 8 ounces of plain flour, just a level teaspoon of baking powder. And I'm just going to see if that works, because I've got this urge to make some scones. I don't know if you say scones. I say scones because I'm not posh. But people challenge that. Anyway, all we need is, can we see this? Flour, baking powder if you've only got plain flour, or you can use self-raising flour, 1 egg, little bit of sugar, milk, and that's it. First thing, I really need to stop saying First thing, switch the cooker on to 200 degrees centigrade. I don't know what that converts to. It's gas mark 6. So I'll just get that cracking. And I've got a fan oven. If you don't have a fan oven, put it to another 10 degrees hotter, so 210. Get the oven on first so that can be heating up while you crack on with the ingredients, which missed out the butter or the margarine. I'm not usually one for margarine. I would usually use butter, but because I'm not a fan of the ingredients in this, I have been assured by a nutritionist that it's still fine, but anyway. So we just need 8 ounces of flour. This is going to get boring while I didn't think this out, did I? I could have weighed this out first. Anyway, 8 ounces of flour, 1 teaspoon, a level teaspoon of baking powder. This is all lumpy. I'm just getting the lumps out. So just spraying that in. I'm sporting my lovely apron that Jo bought for me and customised herself. Look at that, isn't it gorgeous? My 2 favourite colours, bluebell blue and red. Okay, so we've got 8 ounces of flour, just a little bit of fat, not much. It's 2 ounces of margarine or butter if you've got butter. Okay, 2 ounces of butter. And then that just gets, if you've got a big fork, let's see if you can see this. It's the biggest fork I can find. If you've got pastry blender like this, use one of those. But I just thought I'd try and keep it simple for lockdown, because people, if they're not used to baking, probably don't even know what one of those is. So what you're trying to do is make the flour and margarine or butter into something that resembles breadcrumbs. So I'll just whisk that up. Can you see what I'm doing there? I'm not sure you can. It's a bit overexposed, isn't it? Well, it's only a test. See how annoying I am on camera. You can do this with your fingers, but I'm not really one for getting my fingers too dirty. I know people like to dive in with this. But just keep going until it's kind of rubbed in. So they're all the butter's turned into, just kind of amalgamated with the flour. As you can see, I'm not the cleanest or tightest of cooks. It goes everywhere. Should I have said make sure you wash your hands first if you're gonna, don't know. Right, that looks kind of, you see that? I don't know if you can see. There we go. It's like, they say breadcrumbs, but it just means all the sort of, it's just not big lumps. Right. Crack your egg into a measuring jug because we'll need to make that up to 5 fluid ounces. So, with the same fork, whisk your egg up, and then we make that up to 5 fluid ounces with milk. If I can find that. Really need to stop saying so apologies. It's annoying me, I think, as much as it's probably annoying you. Whisk that all in. Oh, before that goes in, a little bit of sugar. I only usually put an ounce in, which is about a tablespoon. Right, yeah. Another tablespoon. Okay. I don't know, is this the best angle, do you think, for the camera? Feedback, welcome. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm asking so you can just tell me when you see me. Then, in goes the egg and milk mix, and then you just combine that together to make it will form usually quite a sticky dough. Now, it's my great grandma's tip that when you make scones, quite a wettish dough makes softer, lighter scones. Now, when you go in for mixing scones or scones, try not to mix it too much, because the more you work flour, the tougher the cake goes. So only do the absolute necessary. Still not sure if you can see this. Is that better there? And then when it's mainly come together, you can see I'm not beating it in. Just sort of lightly combine it. Now this is where it gets messy. Go in with your hands and just gather it together in a rough kind of dough ball. And you just don't have to be too pedantic about getting your fingers messed up here. And I'm just trying to roll it around to collect all the little bits that are clearly not wanting to come off my finger. And just get it into a, there we go, right, so that's what you're left with. Can you see that? Get rid of the bowl. Now, at this point, you could use your scone cutters, but I'm not going to bother because it's just more washing up. So I'm going to make these, this will make 4 large scones and about, I would say 6 small ones, so she'll go for 6, because obviously I've got loads of friends coming around later to eat them. So I'm just going to quickly mark out sort of 6 rough, sort of even sizes. I'm not being too precious about this, because the less time you spend working with the flour, as I've said before, the lighter they're going to be. And you don't, just keep it really light. And as well, they're not going to take very long to cook, probably 10 minutes for these. I made 4 the other day, and I had to keep putting the oven on for another 5 minutes and another 5 minutes. So these should only take 10 minutes, I would say, this size. Just form them round into, as lightly as you can, into little kind of and then quickly press them. And then the baking trays here, I'm just going to sprinkle some flour. Now I've got, I'm going to get rid of this gunk. I have one of these handy flour shakers, and nothing posh. It was probably about 20p from a car boot sale. And it just saves on baking paper for your tin. Here's the baking sheet. I find you just sprinkle it with flour, they don't stick. Oh God, I keep saying, stop it. Right, lay them onto your floured. You can grease it as well if you prefer to grease it. Or you could use baking paper if you've got baking paper, parchment, greaseproof paper, whatever you want to call it. On these go. And then sometimes I save a little bit of egg mix for putting on the top, because again, I just use my fingers to do it. I can't be bothered washing up. People have pastry brushes and, you know, very fancy, but I really can't be bothered with washing pastry brushes. You never get them clean. And then they just go skanky in the drawer. Anyway, bit of milk, fingers in. I did wash my fingers before I started, I promise. I tap that on, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing there. Tap that onto and it just gives a little bit of a shiny finish to the scones when they come out of the oven. Right, the oven's so quick, it's unbelievable. The oven isn't quite hot enough. Do make sure the light's gone off from the oven for the temperature. Make sure it's come up to temperature before you whack them in. So I'm going to end it there. I'll stick them in when it's up to temperature, and I'll report back when they come out of the oven. See you in a minute.